introduction, so I'm not going to do it. I don't believe that the American people have any idea the depth of the corruption, the destructiveness, and actually the danger of our immigration system, which is so much more vast and so much more complex than anyone has any idea. Am I overstating that?
No, you're not. In fact, we're dedicating the afternoon shows with Natalie Winters the same thing. I think, and I appreciate these H-1B visas coming up here in the last week or so, because that's just the tip of the spear of something that's so vast on the illegal and legal side. And I actually say now when you say legal, you got to put that in quotes, because the system has been so game to make it essentially illegal. And many people are here. I mean, when I say many, I mean hundreds of thousands to millions are here illegally that supposedly came through a legal system. So I think anything, and of course, you and your husband Joseph are one of the founding elements of the entire, what I would call conservative or now kind of right-wing ecosystem of news. You were there with Andrew at the very beginning to launch, was it Free Republic and
We were, yeah,
WorldNetDaily? And
1997 was
I
our
mean, this
founding.
is Drudge, WorldNetDaily,
We tried to hire
Free
Drudge.
Republic. Exactly. So no, it's you guys have been on a long run, but it's now more, and I'm saying, and look at those 25, 26 years. It's and because the fight, it's all enemies foreign and domestic, and the domestic enemies are not going to give up. They're deeply embedded. They control the greatest, most powerful nation in the history of the earth, and they're just not going to sit there and say, hey, because Trump came back in the greatest political comeback in world history, that we're just going to toss you the keys. That's not going to happen. And you've seen this in the activities in the last 48 hours.
I I'm a really kind of a tough person on certain kinds of issues, and this is one that I'll go to the mattresses on, or the mattress, whichever. Um, but I still hope that it doesn't have to fracture us in a way. I think that 80-90% of MAGA and of Americans, and I believe, by the way, young black men, Hispanic, heads of family, I believe that one of the chief reasons that they came into MAGA is to see a breath of fresh air and a complete total burning of the system down, or deconstructing it and rebuilding it as a small and actually a system of integrity. But wasn't it really about immigration? It was the economy, but isn't it really about the immigration? Isn't that what's really, yeah.
You've nailed it. And the New York Post had an editorial. I haven't had a chance to put it up on Getter yet with my analysis. New York Post had a incredible story today about the Selma moment for the African American community, how ideology and their voting, although the Democratic Party had worked against them for so long because they saw in this symbology that the Democratic Party had stood with them at the very beginning of kind of the intensity of the 60s civil rights movement, that's been a throughput. Well, that is why now in this immigration issue, both illegal and legal, is our Selma moment with the African American community. Remember, what happened in November 5th was the beginning of a new coalition, a 1932 type reorganization where African American men and Hispanic families, and particularly Hispanic men, are now open to either not voting for the other side, which is fine, or actually not voting for the other side and voting for us, which is great. But this is about their citizenship. This is about the value of their citizenship. And whoever can show the American citizen that we hold their citizenship sacred as a sacred trust, because that's what it is, and we've kind of lost that passed down from the revolutionary generation through every patriot's grave, is this sacred trust of citizenship. And because it's bequeathed to you, right, that we have to nurture that, and that you come and your well-being, because you're the bedrock, the full faith and credit of this republic, and the bedrock of Burke's little platoons, that civic society that underpins all the greatness of the institutions of the United States. That group, that party, that movement that reveres that, hold it sacred, and more importantly, prepared to fight for it, will be rewarded with their support. And so this is our Selma movement on the right to show African American men in particular we're prepared to defend their rights as citizens, and particularly the economic rights, not to have the world come to your own country to compete against you economically. And the people that believe this, and I think, look, President Trump's believers and the people that walk the precincts and knock on the doors, it's 99%. Okay, you may have some converts and some tech bros, and we're all fine because remember, we're putting together a new coalition. It's all fine. It's all good. But you're a convert sit in the back.
I like that.
You may be able to testify, but we don't need to have you preaching and dictating. And what
You're
really
not
galls
preaching
me,
any sermons to the church.
and what galls me is three guys, three white dudes from South Africa. Since the whites in South Africa had such a great run, are going to lecture us here in the United States on how we organize things. I just don't. That's not going to happen on my watch. So anyway, it's full on, but this is an argument they're going to lose, and here's why. Just like in everything regarding the deep state, everything regarding the what President Trump needs to expose about 2020, January 6th, all of it. Sunlight and transparency is our friend because the facts are on our side. That's what we want to declassify. That's what we want to have public investigations on this, on all the visas. Elon Musk, remember, he's going to fight to the death. He threw down, I'm going to do warfare in ways you haven't even seen it, and I'll protect the HB1. They caved in about 2 hours and said, you know what? It actually needs reforms. And maybe we charge a little more for this and a little more for no.
No.
Caved.
No
Yeah, you
nibbling
caved
at
on
the
process.
edges. But I do believe
Yeah.
that I know that many years ago, 40 years ago, I was pro-abortion. I didn't know any better. 50 years ago, I was pro-abortion. And so I do know that there is that moment for so many of us where we think we're just so right about something and we're standing on integrity. And then we look back and we say, wow, rocks were smarter than me on this issue. And so what I'm hoping, and I'm not a Pollyanna, Steve, but I am hoping that there is going to be an understanding and a realization or an enlightenment where they actually see how self-destructive to our country this immigration nightmare. No way.
No, because
Okay.
the tech bros have a different philosophy. This is why I take Curtis Yarvin very seriously. This is why we kind of did a special on New Year's Day about this dark enlightenment and Curtis Yarvin's philosophy and how it plays through the Peter Thiels of the world and the David Sachs of the world, Elon Musk, or the tech bros. They have a very different concept of what you and Joseph have as the founders of WorldNetDaily have of this entity we have here. We not only believe in a constitutional republic, we believe in something called the nation state. That's not an idea, but an actual entity. This is coming out of the Treaty of Westphalia, and it's been for the last 300 years, at least the best way that individuals can try to govern themselves. They don't believe in the nation state, and they particularly don't believe in the nation state of the United States of America. America just happens to be an economic unit that provides them with a market that's unbelievable, and people are unbelievable, and regulations are unbelievable. They can come and be safe from the predators around the world. So they take advantage of everything that the War Room Posse and the MAGA movement provides for them while they want to steal their own sovereignty. And what they believe in this kind of Renaissance idea like the Medici's or the Borgias, that there's really these nation states, or what I call, they think of things in a network, not as a nation, and that they will be the head of the network, and really kind of in these, it's techno-feudalism. They'll be in a very feudalistic society where they are what I call the sociopathic overlords. And no, we're not going to have a Pollyanna moment, and we're not going to have agreement. We're going to either win this fight on our side,
Oh no,
or
we
they
have
will
to win. There is
win. So
victory is the only option.
they will not all of a sudden the scales will fall off and they go, oh yeah, you're right.
Oh,
We understand the Constitutional Republic. They will understand that we're going to play smash mouth and not going to back down from this no matter what. And if they want to have the benefits of being part of this, then fine. We're all for the benefits. Remember, Elon Musk, whether you like him or not, wrote a $250 million check within 5 months of the election. And he backed the play of the grassroots. What I admire about Elon with his engineer's brain, he didn't get, I don't think he understands a lot about politics and things like that. He didn't get buffaloed by the consultants that come in, all these billionaires, the Paul Singers, all these guys for years have had very little impact right, and trying to stop MAGA because they fall for the thing of ads and these things. It's never stopped us. What Elon understood is that the grassroots, particularly in what he believed in the actual theory of this was a base plus election. Don't modify Trump. Don't go to look for the mythical suburban woman who's open to MAGA principles because that doesn't exist. It's like the Loch Ness monster, right? Don't look for or like certain panelists on The View, right? They are never going to. If you look at the panelists on The View, I'm not dropping any names, they are never going to vote for President Trump. And so don't go try to mollify that. And there were people around Trump that were actually saying do that. Elon came in and said, no, I think this base plus, let me put my money back over grassroots. So he deserves a seat at the table, certainly. Now, I didn't say that it's a co-seat. I didn't say it's a seat that has any decision making associated with it. So we'll have to deal with that. But I think the way to deal with it is and I really am excited. And the reason I want to jump on here in a very busy, couple of days back when I heard you were doing this, I think if you guys, given your credibility, your work ethic, the audience you have, and what you mean to people, how your voice will resonate. When I heard that you were going to actually do something and actually focus on this topic, this is what we need. Somebody that can take this as a specialty and show every day the madness about it back. This is because the legal and illegal, because all the Republican writers said they always support legal immigration. Well, hold it. Right now, there is no legal immigration. It's
No,
all a con. It's
that
all a
is such a
scam.
beautiful way to put it. I love it because that whole legal thing is really annoying when you're trying to write or speak a sentence. It comes out and it sticks in your throat. It's not legal. So there is no legal immigration right now. It is all I don't know, a criminal conspiracy. I'm throwing that out. One time we had a conversation. I threw out the word conspiracy and you said, Elizabeth, there is no conspiracy. There's no coincidences. And I said, but Steve, why do we have federal law on the books that
Oh,
prohibits criminal conspiracies and puts them in prison? So I've got a
yeah.
little bit of it's do you think then?
By the way, hold it, hang on. But it is a vast criminal enterprise that's doing this. It is a criminal enterprise that's doing this. When I say there is no legal immigration in this country, I mean that. And it will be exposed. And you got to go. And here's the beauty of the War and Posse and the audience you're going to have. They love the receipts. These people will drill down and they will come up with information. They will find information, just like on the pandemic, just like on J6, just like on the 2020 election, just on every topic we've dealt with, Ukraine, the border. They will drill down as they go through themselves and try to figure it out themselves because you don't need to tell them what to think. They're going to come to the ultimate conclusion. The more information they get, you will find out there is no legal immigration in this country. It is all a con. It's all a scam.
Steve, my mom's 89. I talk about her all the time on my show. And she reads the Federalist Papers, and she's always going through her phone and getting really angry about things. And when I start telling her about the H-1B1 and the OPT, that I'm learning more details because I'm literally stayed up all night long. I couldn't stop researching. And my stomach hurts sometimes, but I have complete confidence and hope in the Lord. I know that Donald J. Trump didn't take office and overcome everything because I see his hand everywhere in this election. I mean, yeah, in the election, not just in his um, surviving 2 attempts on his life. I see in all the stupid mistakes and decisions like Tim Walz. I think that was the hand of the Lord steering stupid people that have hard hearts to make hard decisions. And I think that this issue came up right now before January 20th. So it could all be laid bare. Everybody's forewarned. Everybody's loaded for bear, and we are ready to go to work. And we've had our tiff. And I appreciate what you're saying. It's just not going to go away. But at least it's laid out for us, and we know what
Oh,
we've got
no.
to do.
This is going to be ongoing because they're going to talk about the policies. And that's what I'm saying. It's not going to be we're not going to have a group hug in this thing. We're just not. They have a very different philosophy. And this is why I want people to start becoming acquainted with Curtis Yarvin and the Dark Enlightenment. This is the foundational element of their thinking. They have a very different idea of what the outcome of this is. Ours is the restoration of a constitutional republic because right now I think we're a post-constitutional country. It's the restoration of a constitutional republic that is driven by the sovereign will of the American citizen. And I see us getting there. I see the sunlit uplands. It's decades away, maybe, but we're going to have but on January 20th, remember, that's not a conclusion. That's a beginning. And it's a beginning of a war against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Please listen closely when President Trump has his hand on a King James Bible and he's taking the oath at high noon on the 20th of January to the oath itself. And I would tell everybody, I think you should repeat that oath at home. I think everybody in the MAGA movement should take that oath along with President Trump. No, no matter, even if you're just in your home or just watching by yourself, or your grandmother or your mother on her phone, it's a prayer. It's an offering to heaven, and I think everybody's got to dedicate themselves. And remember, it's all enemies, foreign and domestic. The folks that wrote the Constitution knew what they were doing.
We have to man up, if you will, and be willing to fight and not do this fake. Well, we're not going to go back to a uniparty of a different complexion or making or anything. We're not going to create a new uniparty. We're going to dismantle everything down to the bone. You seem very, very confident. And I think I saw on X some people a little worried when President Trump came out and started talking about H-1B. And I wasn't sure if he was confused about the particular program because it is very confusing. Um, President Trump has enough people that know this, understand immigration, that it's not possible that he would come out on the side of keeping H-1B or just nibbling at the edges and editing it a little bit, right?
Well, they had on MSNBC the other night, and this is what we watch MSNBC and deconstruct it because it does
Yeah.
such a great job deconstructing armor. So the Chris Hayes show, what Chris and those guys did is went back to March of 2016 to my radio show. Remember, I was doing Breitbart Radio over at Sirius XM, and they went back to a radio program I was doing with, guess what, Stephen Miller. And Stephen Miller at the time, had just gone to the Trump campaign. We had gotten him off of Sessions. I met him, he and Sergio Gore were staffers on Michelle Bachmann. When Michelle Bachmann had her moment, remember she ran for president and she actually, I think, won the Iowa State Fair poll, and she was leading at one time. She got on the cover of Time magazine. Michelle Bachmann was actually an event, right? There was happening, and Gore and Stephen were there. Stephen went to Jeff Sessions, and as you well know, led all those huge fights we had in 12 and 13 and 14 to stop amnesty bills was all led intellectually by Stephen Miller, who was on Jeff Sessions' staff. Stephen Miller then was one of the first people that we made sure President Trump got a look at, Corey Lewandowski, when Corey was running the primary campaign. Stephen was brought on as a speechwriter and a policy guy, and Stephen's on the show in 16. And what are we talking about? H-1B visas. We're talking about at that time, it was announced in the paper, in Breitbart, we had found out about it, that there were 54, the biggest donors in the Republican Party were having a meeting. I think it was on an island off of South Carolina. This was in March. They were coming together because Trump had just kind of swept the Super Tuesday. He looked like he was on a roll now to win. And they, Ben Shapiro and those guys were calling Breitbart Trump Pravda, right? Guys were there. So these 54 got together about how to stop Trump. And I had Miller on there and I said, hey, and I called them oligarchs. I said the Rove and the oligarchs that run the Republican Party are focused on H-1B visas because this is their methodology to flood. I said it's not just illegal immigration, it's legal immigration. And Stephen and I had a long debate on it. Chris Hayes goes, he says, you have to understand that people around Trump, they have a very clear vision of what they want, which is no immigration. That's not true. What we want is, I want no immigration now. I want a total moratorium because there's no legal immigration. It's all illegal. So to sort things out. But Hayes and his staff are right. We do have we have total clarity of what we're trying to accomplish. Now, you cut to 2024. Obviously, there's other pressures on President Trump. President Trump's comments to the New York Post, his comments walking in, because there was a little confusion about what it was. Now, what just to be fully frank, is that we have on the show today, President Trump then, this morning, put on Truth Social to boost an editorial in the Boston Globe. Now, the only, and the newsflash, fake news loves Trump. My point I made on the show is that the Boston Globe of any paper in this country hates President Trump and the MAGA movement down to the marrow of their soul. They are worse than the New York Times. They're worse than the Washington Post. They're worse than the LA Times, and they're worse than the Chicago Tribune. So if you can take those four, these guys are worse. And in the first line of the editorial, Donald Trump is right. I would have to think that through. So no, there are Stephen Miller's still the head theoretician over there. Homan's there. They have a huge task ahead of them. And I just hope President Trump has, because of the enormity, Elizabeth, of having to remove 15 million people from your country that are here illegally, blatantly, have to remove those, haven't taken the eye off the ball that we can't let the tech bros of the dark enlightenment confuse anybody that Americans are not either, they're too mediocre, too stupid, too lazy, because they're none of the above, right? We're the best engineers, the most dedicated engineers, the best in computer science. It's all there. And this is our Selma moment, because when African Americans and Hispanics see that we're prepared to defend their rights as citizens to a fair shake here, and not to bring the world in to get over top of them in colleges and universities, because the student thing's probably the worst of all the scams, at engineering schools and tech schools, and we're defend to the death their rights as citizens of this great republic to have a fair shot at that. This is our Selma moment, and it can resonate down through the 50, 60 years that it has in Selma. Selma was an enormously important episode in American history and has resonated down through the ages, and we have our ability to do that now.
We do, because it speaks to my heart, to my very soul, when I think that China is the number one enemy, number two in H-1 visa holders. And we have young black men, young Hispanic, and hey, young white men, let's throw them in, that are out of the workforce since 1960. The the workforce of men who are no longer working has tripled since 1960. They're out of the job market. They are not even looking for a job. And we're talking all the way down to 18 years of age. So it's not because they're too old. And there is.
I think. Look, men out of the workforce right now. I think there's 30 million whites. I think there's another 20. There's something like 50 or 60 million Hispanic, African American, and white men. However you categorize them for ethnicity or race, men in still not too old. I mean, men in the prime of life, particularly in the 40s. And this is the tech thing that bring these guys over top of them. And this is. I am not anti-Indian. Heck, I'm the chairman. I've been the chairman of the Hindu Republican Association. I revere India's culture and civilization. Modi is a nationalist leader. Now, I am not enthusiastic about bringing over people who are not citizens to essentially replace at lower wages people who are American citizens. Our movement is not simply America first. It's American citizens first. American citizens have to get a special deal. Why do they have to get a special deal? Because the burden of it's their country, and the burden of the whole world's apparatus is on their shoulders, right? The military part of it, the economic part of it, the full faith and credit, they make this whole system go. Hey, for that responsibility and duty, you get a special deal, and that special deal is you're American citizen, and your rights, and particularly your economic rights, have to be acknowledged and enforced.
I call it my American birthright. They talk about birthright citizenship. It has nothing to do with that. The moment that I came out of my mother's womb, I received a birthright. And that birthright was the Constitution, the Declaration, the founding documents, the rights, the inalienable rights. And that includes that I'm a citizen in this country and you aren't. And I have the birthright. You don't have my free speech. You don't have my Bill of Rights and the right to take our jobs. So that's what I call my American birthright. And I think of especially young black men, 25, 30 years of age, that are disheartened or dispirited, and they want to look, the left always wants to talk about the angst and all that. It's not angst. It's the fact that they want to have jobs and they want to be trained and they want to be educated, and they see that this whole system is rigged against them. And now they're starting to see that it's not about race, it's about class, and that MAGA is here to defend them, because I will defend to the death what we're fighting for right here. I want a man who's 30 years of age, whose father, grandfather, great grandfather, and great great grandfather and beyond have lived in this country, paid taxes, fought, died for it. Why should they be replaced by somebody from the PRC or from even from India? Why should they be replaced? This is their country.
They should not. And to be replaced for no reason. It's not that they're not smarter or work harder. They're coming in at a lower wage. It's the economic model is very simple. These folks will work for anywhere from 30 to 50% less, and they'll work like indentured servants. I mean, they're treated horribly. It's indentured servitude that I thought we got rid of in the 19th century. Somehow, I remember we fought a war about this sometime in the mid 19th century. I thought we put that past us. Obviously, we haven't. And here's what really galls me is that the tech bros and the corporatists want to treat you like an idiot and talk about highly skilled. These are for highly skilled workers. It's not. It's the best. And let me get to the best and brightest in a second. The highly skilled workers is a lie. These are medium skilled. They're brought in here, and you're right. It adds onto this thing like battery acid that eats away at the soul of men who have gone to schools, have tried to work, and can't find opportunities because of the fact they're always being undercut by this wave, this tsunami of illegal, visa applicants that came in here. Now, I want to say one thing before we go about bringing in the best and the brightest. I also disagree with this. Remember, is if you believe in the theory of America first and really the theory underpinning that, the tech bros have the Dark Enlightenment, which is kind of a network series, right? It's like medieval thing where it's a feudalism, where they're the lords of the manor and everybody else is basically a digital serf. We believe in nation states. Well, if you believe in nation states, you believe in all of them. You can't sit here and be imperialistic like Rome was or like Britain was and just suck up from the hinterlands all of their talent. We want all of those nations to be on a path to recover their greatness. Remember, folks throughout the world, if you look at anything, eventually they all want to go home. There's a great yearning for your home country. And we have to make sure or help that they've got the opportunities too. The one way you don't have that is to, when people come here, you just suck up the best and they're all going to be in the United States and the whole world's we're just going to beggar thy neighbor with that. It's not right. And it's
I think
certainly
it's
not
a
American.
scandalous thing, and I don't think it's moral at all, because when I think about them talking about that, um, we don't have enough surgeons, we don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough nurses. Firstly, they're being actually artificially kept out of residencies. They can't even get jobs. They are saddled with $200,000 or $250,000 and an 8-year investment or whatever it is in their career. They come out, they cannot get a residency because it is being filled by these corporate entities, these big, I don't know, medical. There's no longer just like your local hospital. It's all a corporate whatever. Um, and and to suck the best and the brightest. Here we have so much for us. They need their Thomas Jeffersons to stay there. They need their George Washingtons and Ben Franklins to stay there and to build their country. And if India doesn't have a few sick people, I don't know who does. And Africa is being devastated as well. There are countries that are just, everybody that can is leaving. I will say this one last thing. I know you have got to go. Our high schoolers, if we have 16.7 million high schoolers, and that leaves us essentially um, a million or 2 million a year graduating out that want to go in STEM. Now, why is it that the tech bros, going back to the 60s when this first started, going back to the 90s when it got put on test fuel and steroids, why didn't they say this? And I am challenging right now Elon, Gates, Zuckerberg, everybody out there that has billions of dollars, put together $1 billion um, program of STEM education that is available to homeschoolers, to voucher schools, to private schools, to government school institutions, available to everybody, K
Hey,
through 12.
let
They
me
could do it like
let me
that.
let me let me let me tell you why that I structure. Here's why I don't think we ought to do that. And here's why.
Just STEM though.
We're not supplicants to these people.
Yeah, that's true.
Fuck them. Fuck
Okay.
them. I don't give a shit what they think or their money. I don't want to take their dirty money because their money's dirty.
Mhm.
Okay? It's just like I don't like people running around to Qatar and taking their money. It's
Oh,
dirty money. It's got blood on it. Okay?
that's got to
We got
go.
to have this is a amazing opportunity for us to have a frank conversation with the American people of exactly the way the world works. And when they see the way the world works, they're going to say, no, I pay enough taxes that is something that the government ought to be doing less of other things. And this is what we ought to be doing. One of the warnings I give to STEM, because this is intertwining with what I call the singularity or this underpinning of artificial intelligence, and it shouldn't be lost on people, the irony that Davos this year is going to kick off the same day on the 20th, and we're going to be doing coverage. We got Nora bin Laden at Davos. Davos launches on the 20th at the same time, so we're going to be doing coverage all day, juxtaposing. Nora bin Laden is going to be in Davos reporting. Because this year, remember, it was last year was ChatGPT. It's only 1 year since the artificial intelligence even came out, which we've been covering for years at War Room with Joe Allen, our editor, but just kind of came out to a public, and now the capital's all flooding into there. The sole purpose right now, the first wave of artificial intelligence, is to remove the human as a part of the labor force. Why do they want to do that? The same way they've worked on getting foreigners in here. They understand that Americans have a cussedness, a grit, a determination, and they're not shy about saying, hey, throw the bum out, right? That's what it is to be American. That's what it took. That's what it took to take this vast wilderness into the most advanced country in the history of mankind. So to have what I call the right stuff. They don't want to have to hire people to have the right stuff. They'd rather have compliant people as foreigners, and they would say, we're going to pay you as an indentured servant. You're in the golden door, but the real door is 5 years hence, and we'll get you a green card. If you're a good little boy or girl, we'll get you a green card. Then you can have chain migration, and you're home free. No, that's because they never wanted the American citizen to actually have an opportunity, have a stake in this, because they understand that comes, the American citizens are going to have a point of view. Now, understanding that we're not going to be driven off. This is why we got to watch about the STEM program. The first wave of the biggest job losses coming from artificial intelligence is going to come from coders and that kind of working level of in the tech industry. And we have to be prepared for this. It shouldn't be lost on people that one of the first things they're trying to do throughout the world is driverless trucks and driverless cars. Like we have too many taxi drivers and too many Teamsters. That's the problem in the world. There are too many truck drivers. I used to do Sirius XM and half of my audience was truck drivers. And I can tell you, they have a point of view and it ain't with the tech bros. So if you want to put a group of people out of business, let's focus on self-driving trucks. I never knew that was the highest priority in the United States. In China, they're coming out with self-driving taxis. Yo, guys, you got 1 billion people. A third of them are unemployed. Maybe they've been pretty good taxi drivers in Hong Kong and everywhere else. I think it's a way to make a living. They do it in New York City. Why take them out? Everything the dark enlightenment leads to is dark, and it's anti-American. It's anti-American republic. This is not going to be a group hug. You're not going to reason this out. It's not open to debate because the facts are 100% on our side, and that's why they don't want to debate it. And this is why Elon Musk cratered so hard. He was going to fight this with every tool known to man, and you don't know what I'm going to do and all this. And an hour later, he's saying, well, this thing needs big reforms, and maybe we pay the guys higher, and maybe we pay. Hey, for a guy that's planned on colonizing Mars and has the kind of brain capacity to do that, he understands the economics of H-1B. This was not Laura Loomer enlightening him about what to look at. Their position is a total con. It's a total scam. They're trying to wreak out of the system every piece of a material benefit they can. And we and the Warren Posse and the working people in America, and for African American and Hispanic men, This can be our Selma moment where MAGA shows that you are a priority. Your economic well-being is a priority, and we're here to fight for you.
We care so much. It's just, they're Americans, and my heart, my soul, everything is wrapped up in this because this is about people. It's not just about economics. It's not just about America. It's about human beings' lives. And when I think of those young men in inner cities or all over the country, of course, but I think of people that do not have opportunity. My goodness, we're stealing their opportunities.
Yeah,
And if we just flipped some switches and made a few changes, which I know are coming on, I cannot wait till January 1st.
yeah.
Listen, Steve, you lay it all out. You are such a delight to have on. I couldn't think of a better person that would say all the things in a way that I probably couldn't make it happen.
No, Elizabeth, you're pretty good. You're not too shabby, as we say. You and Joseph. Listen, I'm so glad you're doing the show. Anytime that we can support you in the worm, just let us
Thank
know.
you.
WorldNetDaily is one of my go-to places every morning.